The wine hit her uniform before she even saw his hand move. 1 second, Amara was smiling. The next, Merlot, dark, expensive, deliberate, soaked through white cotton and burned against her skin like an accusation. The table erupted in laughter. Clumsy girl. Richard Holt set his glass down with the calm of a man who had never once been told no. His cufflinks caught the chandelier light. His eyes didn't. Look what you've done to my suit. Amara hadn't touched him, hadn't even been close. But this room didn't care about close. This room, with imported marble, whispered business deals, and guests who paid more for one meal than she earned in 3 weeks, had already decided what she was the moment she walked in carrying someone else's food. Breathe. Just breathe. Her mother's oxygen machine cost $300 a month. Marcus needed new school shoes. The landlord had already called twice. She needed this job. Needed it the way drowning people needed air. Sir, I don't. He cut her off without even looking at her. Do you know what this jacket costs? She knew exactly what it cost. She had seen the brand once in a hospital waiting room magazine while sitting beside her mother after another collapse. $8,000. Almost a year of insulin. I'm so sorry, she said softly, because she was trained to say it. Because rich customers always won. Because people at home needed her standing upright after this shift. Sorry doesn't clean silk. More laughter. A woman in pearls covered her mouth, not in shock, in amusement. Someone in the corner started recording on a phone. And Amara felt it. That cruel kind of humiliation that only comes when suffering becomes entertainment. When people laugh while you try not to break. Her manager appeared from nowhere. Gerald, sweaty hands, bad timing, worse loyalty. Miss Cole. His voice was quiet, that scared her. Quiet managers had already made their decision. Why don't we step outside? Gerald, your apron. He stretched out his hand. Right there, in front of everyone. Her humiliation officially complete. She untied it slowly. No, she would not cry. She promised herself, years ago she would never let cruel rooms like this see her tears. Not after everything life had already taken. She placed the apron in his hand, lifted her chin, turned toward the exit. And then, the room changed, not loudly, not dramatically, just different. Like the air suddenly remembered fear. Someone had stood up. He was sitting in the corner before, completely still, dark suit, broad shoulders, sharp face, the kind of quiet power that didn't need attention, because attention came anyway. He crossed the floor in slow, controlled steps, unhurried, absolute. He removed his charcoal jacket, and to Amara's surprise, he draped it over her shoulders, gentle, careful, like something fragile deserved protecting. Her throat tightened. Then he turned toward Richard Holt, cold, controlled, terrifying. Like winter learning how to speak. Apologize. His voice was low, calm, but dangerous. Richard blinked. What? The stranger tilted his head slightly. To my woman. Silence. The restaurant froze. And before we go deeper, this is Amazing Sari, where love gets dangerous, emotional, messy, and impossible to ignore. If you love stories filled with obsession, betrayal, powerful romance, and unforgettable twists, stay with me, because Amara's life is about to change forever. Richard laughed nervously. There's clearly some misunderstanding. The man stepped closer, dark eyes colder than steel. Do I look, he said quietly, like I misunderstand things? Something shifted in Richard immediately. Fear, real fear, like he had finally recognized who stood before him. My apologies. Barely above a whisper. The stranger didn't move. To her, Richard swallowed hard. I'm sorry. Amara stood frozen, confused. Who was this man? And why did an entire restaurant suddenly look terrified of him? The stranger turned to Gerald. She's rehired. Gerald blinked. Promoted, calm, cold, effective immediately. Unless, his gaze sharpened, you'd prefer to explain to the board why the man who owns 40% of this restaurant chain decides to leave permanently. Gerald nearly choked. Of course, absolutely, Miss Cole. Please forgive. That's enough. Amara surprised herself with how steady her voice sounded. The stranger finally looked back at her. Really looked. Not like rich men usually looked. Not hungry, not dismissive. Intentional. Like he saw every exhausting thing she carried. My name, he said quietly, is Jace Kang. Someone nearby gasped. A waitress almost dropped a tray. The color disappeared from Gerald's face. Jace Kang, the city's feared Korean-American mafia king. And somehow, for reasons Amara could not begin to understand, he had just called her his woman. Chapter 2. The Ruthless Mafia King. Final corrected. The silence lasted exactly 4 seconds. Amara counted them, because her mind needed something to hold on to while Richard Holt's face shifted from arrogance to disbelief to something far uglier, fear. He looked at Jace Kang the way powerful men looked at greater power, trying to understand rank, trying to understand danger, trying to decide how quickly survival required humility. He figured it out fast. Men always did with Jace Kang. Something softened in Richard's jaw. Not respect. Submission pretending to be dignity. "My apologies," Richard muttered stiffly. But he still couldn't quite look at Amara. It wasn't enough. Jace stood still, cold, unreadable, waiting. The room held its breath. To her, quiet, controlled, final. Richard swallowed, then finally turned. "I'm sorry." The apology tasted fake, but fear made it honest enough. Jace gave one small nod, the kind kings gave when outcomes had already been decided. Richard and his friends disappeared from the restaurant within minutes. Expensive shoes, expensive pride, expensive humiliation. Gerald still stood there, clutching Amara's apron like a frightened intern. His voice shook. "Miss Cole, I sincerely apologize. She's rehired." Jace spoke before Gerald could finish. Gerald blinked. "What?" "Promoted. Flat. Controlled. Effective immediately." Silence. Forks stopped moving. Wine glasses paused halfway to lips. Amara frowned. "Promoted," Gerald stammered nervously. "Of course, absolutely. Customer relations supervisor. Effective immediately." Her mouth opened slightly, then closed again. This had to be a joke. Jace turned toward Gerald. "And unless you'd prefer to explain to your board why the man who owns 40% of this restaurant group suddenly loses interest in business." He paused. Slow. Deadly. "We're finished here." Gerald nodded so hard he nearly looked injured. "Yes, sir." "No problem, sir." "Completely understood, sir." Jace didn't acknowledge him again. His attention returned to Amara. And for reasons she didn't understand, that somehow felt worse, because he looked at her carefully. Not like rich men looked. Not dismissively, not hungrily, not lazily, carefully, like she mattered. "My name is Jace Kang." Someone gasped near the kitchen. A tray nearly shattered. 2 businessmen immediately stood up and quietly left. Amara noticed, which confused her even more. Who exactly was this man? And why did grown men suddenly look nervous around him? She didn't sleep that night. Not really. She lay awake inside her tiny apartment, listening to Marcus snore softly from the mattress near the wall. Her mother coughed in the next room. Bills sat piled near the television. Reality, heavy, unmoving. Yet somehow her thoughts kept returning to one thing. A charcoal jacket, still folded neatly over her chair, still smelling faintly like cedarwood and expensive danger. Why would someone like him care? Why help her? Why call her? Her chest tightened. "My woman." The words still sounded ridiculous, absurd, impossible. By morning, the restaurant staff had already created a mythology. "He owns half the city." "No," my cousin said, "politicians fear him. I heard he controls the ports. People disappear after crossing him." Rosa from the hostess stand lowered her voice dramatically. "Jace Kang." Silence followed the name, like speaking it too loudly invited consequences. "The Kang family," Rosa whispered. "Korean-American syndicate." Amara laughed nervously. "Stop." Rosa crossed herself. "I'm serious." That evening, curiosity beat caution. Amara searched his name on her cracked phone. The internet revealed almost nothing, which somehow felt more terrifying. No scandals, no arrests, no interviews, no public drama. Only whispers hidden inside articles. Business empire, influential investor, strategic partnerships, luxury real estate. Then silence. Careful silence, the kind wealthy people paid for, or dangerous people enforced. He returned on Tuesday, same table, same stillness, same terrifying calm, coffee, no menu, no wasted movement, no unnecessary conversation. He looked at her once, and somehow the entire room felt smaller. Amara approached cautiously. "You should have taken your jacket back." Jace looked up slowly. "I didn't want it back." Her stomach tightened. I'm not a charity case, Mr. Kang. His eyes lingered on her face, long enough to feel personal. No, his voice lowered slightly. You're not. Something about the certainty unsettled her. Like he knew something she didn't. She turned quickly, trying to ignore how aware she suddenly felt of him. Thursday changed everything. She opened her locker, stopped. A receipt sat folded neatly inside. No note, no explanation, no signature. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it. Hospital billing statement. Paid for $200. Her throat closed. Her mother's overdue balance. Gone. Completely cleared. Tears threatened instantly. No, no, no. Her eyes darted around. She already knew. Of course she knew. Outside. Black car. Dark suit. Hands tucked casually inside his pockets. Waiting. Like he knew she would come. You had no right. The words left sharper than intended. Jace didn't flinch. Probably. You can't just fix people's lives, Sess. His jaw tightened slightly. She needed treatment. You don't know what I need. Something shifted in his expression. Not anger. Not offense. Something steadier. More dangerous. He stepped closer, not threatening, certain, like gravity. I know exactly what you need. Her pulse stumbled. You need help. You need rest. You need to stop carrying a war meant for 5 people by yourself. Silence. Then softer. You don't belong struggling anymore, Amara. His voice lowered. Intentional. You belong under my protection. Something's inside her chest betrayed her. Not trust. Not safety. Something worse. Hope. And hope? Hope terrified her more than fear ever could. She arrived on a Friday, which somehow felt appropriate. Destruction always dressed nicely for weekends. The restaurant changed the second she walked in. Not loudly, not dramatically, just different. Waiters straightened instantly. Managers suddenly appeared from nowhere. Whispers moved through corners. The air shifted. Her heels clicked against imported marble like a warning. Measured, elegant, expensive. She wore ivory from head to toe, a long tailored coat. Diamond earrings sharp enough to blind under chandelier light. Hair sleek. Posture perfect. Beauty wrapped tightly around cruelty. Her name was Yuna Baek, daughter of one of the most feared Korean-American mafia families in the city. And judging from the tension crawling across the restaurant, everybody knew it. Everybody except Amara. Yuna sat at Jace Kang's usual table, without asking, without hesitation, like she owned it. She ordered champagne, didn't drink it, only watched Amara, coldly, carefully, like someone inspecting damage, or choosing where to cut. Amara approached with practiced calm. Good evening. May I get you anything else? Yuna tilted her head slightly. A smile appeared. Beautiful. Cruel. So, one word. Sharp enough to bruise. You're the girl. Amara blinked. I'm sorry? The waitress. Yuna's eyes traveled over her slowly, painfully, like class judgment wearing lipstick. The one Jace suddenly finds interesting. Her stomach tightened. Professional smile. Stay calm. Always stay calm. Would you like anything from the menu? Yuna laughed softly. No warmth in it. How adorable. She leaned back, crossed one leg over the other, diamonds catching light. Tell me. Her voice softened, dangerously. Do girls like you actually believe stories like this end happily? Amara stayed still. What exactly do you mean? Yuna smiled again, slow, surgical. You. A pause. Working class. Another pause. A waitress. Another. And him? Her eyes flicked around the restaurant. Jace Kang. The name landed differently when spoken by someone who knew him. He lives in a world built on power, money, fear, influence, violence. You serve food, Yuna continued softly. He owns cities. Something inside Amara shifted. Not insecurity, annoyance. You don't know me. No, Yuna said calmly. I know enough. Her gaze dragged slowly over Amara's uniform. The cheap shoes. The tired eyes. The desperate little smile women wear when survival depends on politeness. The words landed harder because they carried pieces of truth. Amara's jaw tightened. Yuna leaned closer, voice low. Poison dipped in silk. You think a man like Jace chooses women like you? She smiled. No, men like him borrow women like you. Silence. A nearby table stopped talking. Someone lowered their glass. Everyone suddenly became interested without pretending to be. He was promised to me, Yuna continued. Our families arranged it. Kang family, Baek family, old alliances. Old money, old blood. This, she gestured lazily toward Amara. This little fantasy, temporary. Her throat tightened, but Amara lifted her chin, surprisingly calm. Then why are you here? Yuna blinked. What? If you're so sure, Amara said evenly. Why are you worried about a waitress? The silence that followed felt expensive, dangerous. Yuna's smile disappeared, slowly, like patience leaving the room. You should learn your place. Amara exhaled quietly, then said, You ordered champagne 20 minutes ago, and haven't touched it. A nearby guest coughed to hide laughter. Another looked away too quickly. Yuna's jaw tightened. You think this is funny? No. Amara folded her hands politely. I just think confident women don't usually feel threatened by poor waitresses. The room went still. Absolutely still. Then, that's enough. The voice landed deep, controlled, cold. Jace. Nobody noticed him enter, which somehow made him more terrifying. Dark suit, sharp jaw, danger walking calmly. He crossed the room slowly, eyes on Yuna. Not angry, worse, disappointed. Jace. Yuna stood instantly, voice softer now, practiced, beautiful. You didn't tell me you were coming. You knew I would. His tone remained flat, emotionless, controlled. Then he turned toward Amara, and without hesitation took her hand. Openly, deliberately, in front of everyone. The restaurant collectively stopped breathing. Yuna froze. Something cracked behind her expression. Small. Ugly. Jealousy. We ended this arrangement 2 years ago, Jace said quietly. Your father understood that. Yuna's jaw tightened. Your family still expected. My father is dead. The room froze again. Cold fact. No drama, no apology, no softness. And his decisions died with him. Silent. Jace's thumb brushed once across Amara's knuckles. Small movement. Terrifying meaning then. He looked directly at Yuna. Calm, final. Let me make this clear. His voice dropped. She stays. And for the first time since walking in, Yuna Baek looked afraid. Not of Amara. Of losing. Because suddenly, for the first time, Jace Kang looked like a man willing to burn kingdoms for one woman. 3 days later, Jace Kang laid offer across the table like something already decided. Not dramatic. Not manipulative. Certain. The restaurant had closed for the night. Soft lighting. Half-empty wine glasses. The city glowing beyond floor-to-ceiling windows, like something pretending to be peaceful. Amara sat across from him, tired, confused, still trying to understand why one of the most feared men in the city suddenly acted like her problems belonged to him. Jace slid a folder toward her. She frowned. What's this? Security. Simple, flat, dangerously calm. She opened it slowly. Her stomach dropped. Apartment documents, medical statements, school records. Her pulse quickened. What is this? A secured apartment. 3 blocks from the hospital. Private security. No public access. No cameras outsiders can hack. Her throat tightened. He continued. Your mother's treatment. Covered. Completely. No outstanding balance. No missed medication. No delayed appointments. Her fingers trembled slightly. Jace's expression never changed. Marcus's school fees. Paid. New uniforms. Transportation included. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Dangerously emotional. Finally, Amara looked up. In return for what? Jace leaned back. Dark eyes unreadable. Your safety. That's it? Yes, her laugh escaped before she meant it to. Sharp. Disbelieving. You expect me to believe this? You think powerful men do things for free. It wasn't a question. Just observation. She hated that he wasn't wrong. I'm not interested in being owned. His jaw shifted slightly. Not anger. Control. I'm not offering ownership. Then what? He held her gaze. Steady. Intentional. A perimeter. The word landed strangely, like safety disguised as something harder. Amara frowned. What does that even mean? Jace leaned forward slightly, and suddenly, the room felt smaller. There are men watching your apartment. Her breathing paused. What? Not mine. Silence. Cold silence. They started 3 days ago. The exact day after the restaurant incident. Her stomach tightened. He continued calmly. You became interesting to dangerous people the moment I stood beside you. The words landed heavily. Not romantic. Not dramatic. Terrifyingly practical. That's not manipulation, Amara. His voice lowered. It's arithmetic. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. She opened it automatically. Her chest dropped instantly. Amara, some weird guy followed me home from school today. Didn't say anything, just stood there watching. Her blood turned cold. No, no. Jace stayed silent. Didn't say I told you, didn't gloat, didn't pressure. He simply waited. Like a man who already knew fear would speak louder than persuasion. Her throat tightened. Marcus is okay? Yes, immediate, certain. I already made sure. She blinked. What? Two men followed him home. Her stomach flipped. My people intervened. A pause. He never knew. Silence. Her emotions tangled painfully. Fear, anger, relief, humiliation. Why did relief feel so dangerous? You had people following my brother? Protecting. Calm correction. Not defensive. Not apologetic. If I wanted control, Jace said quietly, you wouldn't be sitting here choosing. The words settled deep. Uncomfortably deep. Because he was right. She still had a choice, didn't she? Didn't she? She moved into the apartment that weekend. Temporary. That's what she told herself. Strategic. Necessary. Survival. That's all. The building terrified her. Too clean. Too expensive. Too quiet. The bathroom alone was bigger than her entire old bedroom. She stared at herself in the mirror for too long. A girl from overdue rent notices suddenly standing inside luxury. It felt temporary. Borrowed. Like happiness people eventually repossess. Sunday evening. Someone knocked. Groceries, not flowers, not jewelry, not designer bags. Groceries, rice, fruit, medicine, soup ingredients, Marcus's favorite cereal. Her throat tightened. There was a note tucked under bananas. For Marcus, growing boys eat too much. Something inside her betrayed her. Something soft. Something terrified. Something human. She sat on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinet, and suddenly cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Because kindness, always worse when life had starved you of it. Later that night, a soft knock. She opened the door slightly. Jace stood there, dark coat, hands inside pockets, expression unreadable. I just wanted to make sure you settled in. She nodded once, still emotional, still angry at herself for feeling emotional. You didn't have to do all this. Yes, he said quietly. I did. Silence. City lights glowed behind him. Then his voice lowered. Calm, steady, terrifyingly sincere. You became mine. A pause. The moment I stood beside you in that restaurant. Her pulse stumbled. Not possession. Not ownership. Something stranger. Something harder to run from. Protection. Choice. Something frighteningly close to care. Amara didn't answer. But, for reasons she couldn't explain, she didn't close the door. The city noticed. Cities always do. Especially cities built on power. Whispers spread the way smoke spreads, quiet, invasive, impossible to stop. At expensive dinners, inside private lounges, behind tinted windows, one sentence moved through powerful circles over and over again. Jace Kang has a woman, and somehow that mattered. Because men like Jace Kang did not fall in love. Men like Jace Kang inspired fear, controlled empires, buried emotions. Not obsession, not softness, not grocery bags filled with cereal for a teenage boy. But Amara began noticing things. Small things, dangerous things. The way Jace looked at Marcus, protective, like he already carried responsibility for him. The way he quietly checked whether her mother received medication, without asking for praise, without announcing himself. The way he remembered details she forgot mentioning. Her favorite tea. How she hated loud music after exhausting shifts. The fact that she preferred extra blankets because hospital waiting rooms always felt cold. Little things. Terrifying things. Human things. Then there was the jealousy. Subtle at first. Amara noticed it on a Thursday afternoon. She had stopped by the restaurant to collect paperwork. An old coworker, Daniel Park, smiled when he saw her. Amara, warm, familiar, safe. You disappeared. She laughed softly. Life got complicated. Daniel smiled. You okay? I think so. I miss seeing you around. The words landed harmlessly, friendly, ordinary. Jace arrived 20 seconds later. Silence followed him into rooms now. Dark coat, sharp expression. Stillness dangerous enough to rearrange oxygen. His eyes moved once. Daniel. Amara. Back to Daniel's. Slowly, quietly. The atmosphere changed. Immediately. Daniel straightened unconsciously. Like his body recognized danger before logic did. Friend of yours, Jace asked, calm voice. Too calm. Amara nodded. We worked together. Silence. Jace looked at Daniel, long enough to feel deliberate. You miss seeing her around? Daniel swallowed hard. Well, I just meant. Good. Jace nodded once. Miss her quietly. Amara blinked. Jace, his attention shifted instantly. Yes? Was that necessary? No, flat. Honest then, yes. Her mouth opened, closed again. Daniel wisely disappeared quickly, very quickly. Later that evening, Amara confronted him. You cannot intimidate every man who talks to me. Jace removed his coat slowly. Calm, controlled. I can, that is insane. His jaw shifted slightly. Probably. She folded her arms. You act like I belong to you. Something flickered across his expression. Small, complicated. Then, quiet. You scare me. Her anger paused. What? The confession sounded wrong coming from him. Too human. Too honest. Jace exhaled slowly, measured. I know what violence looks like. I know betrayal. I know ambition. He looked at her. Really looked. But this? A pause. You matter. His voice lowered, dangerously sincere. And people mattering. Another pause. Makes men weak. Silence settled between them. Heavy, honest. I lost people once, he said quietly. 12 years ago. The sentence felt unfinished, like grief standing behind a locked door. Amara softened despite herself. You don't have to carry everything alone. His expression shifted briefly. Something painfully vulnerable. Gone instantly. Careful. Low voice. Almost teasing. You're starting to sound like you care. Her heartbeat betrayed her immediately. Friday night changed everything. She stopped at a pharmacy after visiting her mother. Late, cold, quiet. The parking garage echoed strangely. Then, mail. Low around the corner, Thursday before her shift. She'll be alone. A pause. Then her name. Amara froze. Breathing stopped. Cold climbed her spine. She's easier without Kang around. Another voice laughed quietly. She disappears fast. Her stomach dropped. No, 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 think. Walk. Don't run. Running means panic. Panic means they know. She walked. Normal pace. Normal breathing. Almost. Her hands shook violently. Phone Jace, he answered before the first ring finished. Don't go home. No hello. No hesitation. Cold command. Her pulse stumbled. What? Keep walking. His voice sharpened. There's a black SUV at the exit. Get inside. How did you, Amara? Quiet, deadly. Now, she obeyed. Without argument. That terrified her most. The assassination attempt came at 11:07 p.m., 3 blocks away from the safe house. Gunfire cracked through the city. Short, violent, efficient. Amara sat frozen beside a window, gripping her phone. Heart hammering. Then his voice. Calm. Too calm. I'm fine. Her throat tightened instantly. You're bleeding. Shoulder. Dismissive. Insignificant. Silence. Then softer. Something frighteningly human entered his voice. I need you to understand something. Her breathing slowed. What? A pause. Long. Measured. Dangerously honest. I do not get attached to people. The sentence landed heavily. I haven't cared about anyone in 12 years. Another pause. You should understand what that means. Her chest hurt suddenly. Because she did understand. Because terrifying men didn't speak like this without consequence. Then, muffled shouting somewhere behind him. His tone changed instantly. Cold, lethal, absolute. Touch her, a beat, and die. And for the first time, Amara realized something terrifying. Jace Kang was not protecting her because he pitied her. He was protecting her because, against every logical instinct, he was already falling in love. She disappeared before sunrise. One moment safe, protected, inside the luxury apartment Jace had secured. The next, darkness, a sharp chemical smell. Movement, hands. Amara woke slowly. Pain first, then confusion, then fear. Her head throbbed violently. Everything felt wrong. Cold stone beneath her fingertips. Heavy air. No city noise, no traffic, no familiar sounds. Just silence. The dangerous kind. Her breathing quickened. White walls. Small windows too high to reach. Metal door, no phone, no purse, no escape. Her stomach dropped instantly. No, no, no. She sat upright too quickly. Pain rushed through her skull. Memory came back in broken pieces. The apartment. Late tea. A knock downstairs. Darkness. Drugged. Kidnapped. The realization landed hard. Jace. Her pulse jumped immediately. Had they hurt him? Did he know? Would he come? The thought terrified her, because somehow the idea of him not coming scared her more. The door opened sometime that afternoon. Slowly. Deliberately. Heels measured, elegant, expensive. Yuna stepped inside. Ivory coat, diamond earrings. Cold beauty sharpened by resentment. She placed a glass of water on a table, just out of reach. Cruel, calculated. You are awake. Amara glared instantly. You kidnapped me. No, Yuna tilted her head calmly. I relocated a problem. The room chilled. You're insane. A soft laugh. No, her smile turned colder. I'm desperate. She crossed one leg slowly. Controlled, elegant, terrifying. Do you know what's funny? Her gaze lingered. Before you, a pause. Jace never said no to me. Amara stayed silent. Cold? Distant? Absolutely. Difficult? Always. Her jaw tightened. But predictable. Something flickered inside Yuna's eyes. Jealousy, anger, loss. And then suddenly, her voice sharpened. There was you, a waitress, ordinary, soft, human, everything Yuna hated. Everything Jace somehow wanted. You ruined years of planning. Silence. Then, a colder truth. The Bake Family Council meets tonight. Amara frowned. What does that have to do with me? Everything. Jace attends. A pause, or he loses the Eastern Alliance. Her smile widened slightly. But if he comes for you, another pause. He loses power. The realization landed hard. You're forcing him to choose, yes. Simple, cruel, certain. And when men like Jace lose power, her smile turned ugly. They lose everything. But Yuna made one mistake. She talked too much. People blinded by obsession always did. Amara listened carefully. Time, security shifts. 2 guards. 1 hallway. 1 western-facing window. No cameras inside. A private estate. 40 minutes outside the city. Architecture. Patterns. Weakness. Amara had survived poverty her whole life. Poor girls learned quickly. You paid attention, or life swallowed you whole. So while Yuna plotted, Amara memorized. Meanwhile, the city burned quietly, because Jace Kang stopped pretending to be reasonable. 3 warehouses raided. 2 rival safe houses emptied overnight. Phone calls unanswered suddenly became dangerous. His men moved faster, sharper, meaner, because their boss had changed. Not louder, worse, calmer. The terrifying kind of calm that meant violence had already made up its mind. Nobody wanted to be the man who stood between Jace Kang and something he cared about. Especially now. At 7:14 p.m., Jace finally spoke, cold voice. Phone pressed against his ear. Find her. Silence. No excuses. Another pause. Then quieter, deadlier. If she comes back hurt. The room held its breath. Pray I never discover your name. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Even fear looked frightened. 4 hours later, the front gates exploded. Literally, gunfire shattered silence. Men screamed. Glass shattered. Running footsteps. Amara stood instantly, heart racing. No, impossible. Already, the hallway erupted into chaos. Then, silence, heavy, terrifying, measured footsteps, slow, certain. The door opened, and there he stood, Jace Kang. Dark coat, blood across his sleeve, jaw tight, eyes searching only for her. The second he saw her, something cracked. Painfully human, relief gone instantly. But she saw it. God, she saw it. He crossed the room fast, too fast, hands immediately checking her shoulders, her face, wrists, looking for damage. You hurt? Low voice. Controlled panic. She shook her head once. No. Silence. Then, his breathing slowed. Tiny, barely noticeable, but real. He turned toward the terrified guards, shaking near the doorway. Voice calm, worse than shouting. I warned you. The room froze. Nobody. A pause. Cold enough to stop hearts. Treacher's what belongs to me. Then, without another word, he removed his jacket again, always, and draped it carefully over Amara's shoulders. Like protection had somehow become instinct. Like saving her had stopped being obligation, and quietly, terrifyingly, started becoming love. Jace Kang had enemies. That part never surprised Amara. Men like him collected enemies the way storms collected damage. Power demanded it. Fear guaranteed it. But betrayal felt different, because betrayal came dressed like loyalty. The first sign arrived quietly, too quietly, a missed call, an unusual meeting, one of Jace's most trusted men suddenly avoiding eye contact. Little things, dangerous things, the kind poor people learned to notice, because survival depended on reading rooms correctly. Amara noticed. Jace noticed faster. But unlike her, he didn't panic, he went cold. And cold on Jace Kang? Cold meant someone's future had already ended. 3 nights after the kidnapping, The penthouse felt heavier. Still, silent, dangerously silent. Jace stood near the city windows. Dark shirt, sleeves rolled halfway, expression unreadable. A whiskey glass untouched beside him. Amara stepped closer carefully. You haven't slept. His jaw shifted slightly. I'm working. That's not what I said. Silence. His eyes stayed on the skyline. Then quietly. Marco betrayed me. The sentence landed harder than expected. Marco. The quiet one. The trusted one. The man who always brought Marcus snacks. Her stomach dropped. What? 12 years. His voice remained calm. Too calm. 12 years beside me. Ports, deals, wars, family business, loyalty. Or what Jace thought was loyalty. He was meeting Bake operatives. Silence, then colder. For 6 months. Amara's chest tightened. Oh God. No, Jace shook his head once. Not angry, worse, resolved. God doesn't walk through betrayal. His voice lowered. Men do. Something about that sentence hurt. Because suddenly, he didn't look dangerous. He looked tired, heavy, lonely. Like someone who learned long ago that love and trust rarely survived power. The fallout happened quietly, which somehow made it scarier. No shouting, no explosions, no dramatic confrontations, just movements, phone calls, reassigned people, frozen accounts, meetings ending too early, 3 loyalists suddenly disappearing from leadership, 2 security captains replaced overnight, 1 lieutenant escorted out permanently. Nobody asked questions. Nobody dared, because Jace Kang wasn't reacting emotionally. He was correcting problems, and powerful men correcting problems scared everyone. Amara watched it happen, and for the first time, fear settled somewhere uncomfortable. Not fear of him, fear of his world, because his world didn't pause for grief, or forgiveness, or softness. His world swallowed weakness whole, and suddenly, she wondered something terrifying. Could someone like her survive loving someone like him? That night, she stood by the window, arms crossed, city lights glowing below. Thoughtful, restless. Jace found her there eventually. Of course he did, he always noticed. You're quiet, she laughed softly. You make that sound suspicious. It usually is. A tiny smile. Gone quickly. Then silence, heavy, honest. Finally, she exhaled. Sometimes, her throat tightened. I'm scared. He didn't move, didn't interrupt. Didn't pressure, just waited, like someone who respected difficult truths. Of me? The question came softly, dangerously soft. She hesitated. Sometimes the honesty hurt, but lying felt worse. Jace nodded once. No anger, no wounded pride, no performance, just truth. That's fair. Her chest tightened unexpectedly, because somehow that hurt more. You terrify people. Quiet laugh. Occupational hazard. No. She turned toward him fully. You carry everything like it weighs nothing. The sentence slipped out, honest, human. And it scares me, because I don't know if there's room for someone like me inside all of this. Something shifted in him then. Tiny, almost invisible. Pain gone too quickly. You think I don't know fear? His voice lowered, measured. 12 years ago. A pause, long enough to feel dangerous. I cared about people. Silence. They died. The confession landed like broken glass, small, sharp, permanent. Amara stepped closer, careful, human. You can't blame yourself forever. His eyes met hers. Dark, heavy. You're already changing things. Her heartbeat stumbled. What things? Another pause. Then, quiet honesty. The way I think. The way I breathe. The way I leave rooms wondering if you ate. Her chest tightened painfully. Because somehow, that sounded more intimate than love. Then came the council meeting. The Kang syndicate gathered. Old money, sharp suits, power disguised as family. And one message spread quickly. Jace Kang is distracted. Jace Kang is weak. Jace Kang chose a woman over strategy. His uncle spoke first. Minho Kang. Cold eyes, older, calculating. The Bake Alliance weakens. A pause. The city talks. Another. Power demands sacrifice. Silence. Then the sentence. Ugly, cruel, necessary in their eyes. Remove the girl. The room chilled instantly. No one breathed. Jay stood slowly, terrifyingly slowly. Not loud, not emotional. Worse, calm, measured, absolute. I have protected this empire since I was 23. Quiet, controlled. I bled for it. Another pause. I buried for it. The room stayed still. Then, his voice lowered, cold enough to stop hearts. If this throne demands her suffering, a beat. Another. Burn the throne. Silence. Total silence. Then final. Unshakable. I choose Amara. And suddenly, for the first time, the most feared man in the city looked less like a king, and more like a man willing to destroy kingdoms for love. War did not announce itself. It arrived quietly, like smoke under doors, like tension sitting too long inside silence, like men suddenly checking exits before entering rooms. The city changed. People felt it before they understood it. Deals slowed. Nightclubs emptied earlier. Powerful men suddenly traveled with more security. And somewhere beneath the polished surface of luxury, everyone whispered the same thing. Jace Kang was at war. The attack started small. Too small. A missing shipment. A bribed official disappearing overnight. 2 Kang safe houses suddenly compromised. Messages. Threats. Warnings. The Bake family moved carefully, strategically, cruelly. And through it all, Jace became quieter, which terrified everyone more, because loud anger faded. Cold anger lasted. Amara noticed first. The sleepless nights, the untouched meals, the way Jace stood near windows longer than usual, thinking, calculating, preparing. His men moved differently now too, sharper, nervous, like everyone knew something terrible was coming. One night, she found him alone. Dark office, city lights behind him. Whiskey untouched again, always untouched, like exhaustion replaced appetite. You haven't eaten. His eyes lifted slowly. You keeping score? She frowned. Silence. Then, unexpectedly, corner of his mustache shifted, barely, dangerously close to a smile. You worry too much. You don't worry enough. That landed. He exhaled quietly, tired, human, rare. Then, softly, they're going to come for you again. No performance, no drama, just truth. Her stomach tightened. Yuna? He nodded once. She lost power. Silence. And desperate people become reckless. 3 mornings later, the ambush came. Wrong street. Wrong timing. Too clean to be coincidence. Amara noticed it first. Cars positioned strangely. Too still, too quiet. Men watching without pretending not to. Her pulse stumbled. Jace, he saw it instantly. Of course he did. 3 seconds. That was all. 3 seconds between normal life and violence. His expression changed immediately. Not panic, worse, instinct, the terrifying version of Jace Kang. Cold, fast, absolute. Stay behind me. Command, not suggestion. Gunfire exploded. Glass shattered. People screamed. Chaos swallowed the street whole. Jace moved impossibly fast, terrifyingly calm, efficient, protective, violent. Everything at once. His men returned fire. Cars screeched. Bodies moved. Shouting echoed. But there were too many. Amara saw it. The numbers. The angles. The second vehicle sliding behind them unnoticed. Something inside her shifted instantly. No time to think. She moved, fast, pulled open a side door, shouted, created movement, confusion, distraction. 30 seconds. That was all she bought. But sometimes, 30 seconds changed lives. A gunshot cracked beside her, too close. Concrete exploded near her shoulder. Jace turned instantly, and for the first time, fear destroyed composure. Raw, unfiltered, terrifying. Amara, he reached her in seconds, hands gripping her shoulders, checking, searching, scanning for blood, for damage, for proof she still existed. You hurt? Low voice, breaking slightly. She shook her head quickly. I'm okay. His breathing stumbled. Tiny, human, gone again. Fast, too fast. Because around them, war still moved. Then something broke inside her. Not fear, resistance. The wall. The one she built around herself for years. The wall that whispered, don't trust, don't depend, don't need anyone. Because suddenly she saw it, the truth. Not power, not money, not obsession. Love. Terrifying, messy, real love. The kind that made ruthless men afraid. The kind that made dangerous men protective. The kind that ruined pride and healed loneliness. Tears burned suddenly. Unexpected, honest. Jace, his forehead touched hers briefly. Protective chaos around them. Sirens somewhere distant. His hands trembling slightly, almost invisible. But there, you scared me. The confession sounded wrong coming from him. Too vulnerable, too human. Her chest cracked open completely. And finally, the truth escaped. Plain, simple, honest. I love you. Silence. The city seemed to stop. Even chaos paused. His breathing caught. Actual surprise crossing his face. She laughed shakily through tears. I was so busy trying not to belong to someone. A broken smile. that I forgot I was choosing. Her hand tightened around his. I choose you. Simple, final, terrifyingly true. I'm not leaving. Something shattered quietly behind Jace's eyes. Relief, love, fear, devotion, everything at once. He pressed his forehead against hers, voice low, almost broken. You terrify me. She laughed softly through tears. Good. Because for the first time, the Ruthless Mafia king stopped looking invincible and started looking like a man terrified of losing the only thing that ever made him human. Peace did not arrive all at once. It arrived slowly, quietly, carefully, like people learning how to breathe again after surviving a storm. The city changed. Whispers softened. Gunfire disappeared from midnight conversations. The Bake family retreated, broken, weakened, humiliated, and somewhere inside elite circles, one truth quietly settled into place. Nobody challenged Jace Kang anymore, not because they feared him, though they did, but because everyone understood something dangerous. A man with nothing to lose was terrifying. A man protecting something he loved? Unstoppable. Unibake disappeared almost overnight. No public scandal, no dramatic headlines, just gone. Erased quietly from invitations, from private meetings, from influence. Her family blamed her. Power hated failure, especially emotional failure. And somewhere, far away from the city, Una finally learned a painful truth. You could manipulate fear, negotiate power, control ambition. But love made people reckless, and reckless men burned kingdoms. Meanwhile, life softened around Amara. Not perfectly, not magically, just slowly. Her mother received proper treatment, real treatment. Doctors who actually listened. Medicine arriving on time, rooms with windows. Hope. Marcus started at a better school. New shoes, better teachers, less worry sitting permanently on his face. And somehow, the impossible part? Jace fit inside ordinary life frighteningly well. Terrifying mafia king, ruthless businessman, feared protector of half the city. Yet, somehow, he remembered grocery lists, made tea wrong, pretended not to care when Marcus challenged him at video games, and stood awkwardly in hospital waiting rooms like patients personally offended him. The contradictions confused her. Softness hidden inside violence, humanity hidden inside fear, love hidden inside discipline. 3 months later, Jace asked her to dress nicely, no explanation, which immediately made her suspicious. You're being strange. His expression stayed unreadable. You say that often? That's because you are. A tiny almost smile, gone quickly. Just trust me. The words landed strangely, because trust had once terrified her. Now trust felt different, like safety, like home. The car stopped. Amara frowned instantly. No, Jace stepped out calmly, opened her door. Yes, her stomach flipped. The velvet crown, the restaurant, the place where humiliation once lived, the place where everything changed. The chandeliers still sparkled, the marble still gleamed, the same walls, the same polished floors. But tonight, everything felt different, because nobody laughed anymore. Nobody looked through her, nobody dismissed her existence. Instead, people stood, quietly, respectfully. Powerful people, famous people, men who once ignored women like her, watching, waiting. The room shifted the moment she entered. Not with cruelty this time, with reverence. And standing at the center, Jace Kang, dark-tailored suit, sharp jaw, calm expression. But his eyes, God. His eyes looked different, softer, terrifyingly vulnerable. Like something important terrified him. He walked toward her slowly. The restaurant silent. Then, without performance, without speeches, without drama, he dropped the money. The room inhaled sharply. Amara stopped breathing. No, no way, no way. Jace reached into his pocket calmly, pulled out a ring, elegant, beautiful, unmistakably him, powerful, quiet, certain. His voice lowered. Only for her. Somehow, the whole room heard. They laughed at you once. Her throat tightened instantly. They looked at you? A pause. And saw nothing. His gaze softened, painfully. But I saw everything. Tears burned immediately. The way you survived. The way you carried people. The way you stayed kind while life gave you every reason not to. His voice lowered further, terrifyingly sincere. You made me remember something I buried a long time ago. Emotion moved behind his expression. Small, dangerously real. how to care. The room forgot breathing. Then quietly, absolutely, they mocked you as a waitress. His hand tightened gently around the ring. But I saw my queen. Her breath broke. Tears escaped immediately. Because somehow, after everything, after fear, after loneliness, after survival, someone finally saw her. Not what she lacked, not what she struggled with. Her, completely, wholly, softly. Her hand trembled against her mouth. Yes, barely a whisper, then louder. Through tears, shaking, laughing. Yes, the room erupted. Applause, laughter, relief, emotion. But somehow, everything blurred. Because all she could see was him. Jace stood slowly, crossed the distance between them, and for the first time, didn't look like the city's most feared man. He looked relieved, human, terrified, happy. He touched her face gently, like she might disappear. "You sure?" Voice quiet, almost vulnerable. She laughed through tears. "You kidnapped my heart months ago." A tiny, rare smile appeared, dangerously beautiful. "I thought I kidnapped your patience." She laughed harder. Then, without fear, without hesitation, she kissed him. And for the first time in years, Jace Kang looked like a man who had finally stopped surviving and started living. 8 months later, the hospital room glowed softly. Quiet, warm, peaceful. Amara sat beside the monitor, hand resting against the small curve of her stomach. Jace beside her, still terrifying, still protective, still watching doctors like they personally offended him. The nurse smiled. "Everything looks perfect." The baby moved. Tiny. Unbelievably tiny. Jace stopped breathing, actually stopped. His hand tightened around hers instinctively. Emotion crossed his face too quickly to hide. Wonder, fear, love, devotion, everything, all at once. Amara smiled softly. "You okay?" He looked at the screen again. Voice lower than usual, careful, like speaking too loudly might break something holy. A pause. "That's ours." She laughed quietly. Yes, silence settled. Warm, sacred. Jace brushed his thumb gently across her hand, then leaned closer. Protective instinct alive as ever. "Nobody touches either of you." Her laughter filled the room. "There he is." "What?" "The terrifying Mafia King." He looked completely serious. "I mean it." She smiled. "I know." And somehow, that became the strangest, most beautiful truth of all. The woman once humiliated by rich men had become the safest place inside the heart of the city's most feared king.